Hello, my creative friends, and welcome to another episode of The Daily Prompt, which is very clearly no longer daily, considering that it's been over a month since our past episode. Why the big delay? Where have I been? Am I okay? Is this still happening? Have I given up on it, even though I said I was never going to give up on it? All that kind of good stuff. Today's episode is kind of a personal rant, not really a rant, but more just sort of a look at where we've been, a look at the goal itself, rediscovering, revisiting. I want to share with you some updates. I want to explain to you how that will change the way we go about trying to get to the goal itself. So I'm going to start off by saying I'm ending the daily prompt. As you may well have gathered by now, doing the daily prompt has become a bit of a challenge for me. I want to provide you with extraordinary value. I want to provide you with something that actually helps push you toward your goal. Every time I put a video out there, I want it to be something of value. Part of the problem is, in order to generate that kind of quality, it just takes time. It takes a lot of time. One of the first videos of this series, I think it was the third episode, why producers don't teach. The crux of it is they don't have time to teach. Similarly, they don't do videos like this, shows like this, because they just don't have time to do those things. Now, my hope originally was that by creating this series, we would get this groundswell of excitement, a lot of people getting super enthusiastic about being a part of the building of this new independent film studio, and it would expand and grow in that way. And then rather than being me talking in front of this here, it would become what I've always imagined it to be, which is a daily series where every day we're behind the scenes of creating new and ongoing film projects, and giving you tips and tricks and ideas and suggestions through that mechanism. The goal always from the beginning has been to bootstrap this thing, to start from nothing and to build from the ground up, so that we always have a way to look back on this journey and say, look, here's how you can start with nothing and build something epic, something truly extraordinary. The problem is that isn't working out that way. Now, I'm always going to take the full brunt of the blame. I'm always going to blame myself for it. I haven't been able to articulate in a way that gets you fired up and passionate enough about this for this to actually succeed the way I wanted it to. So I'm not going to point any fingers, and I'm certainly not going to point the finger at you, the audience. But I do want to say that one of the challenges that I have found along the way is that people don't share this. People don't spread the word about this. One of the challenges with the YouTube algorithm is that YouTube sort of respects and promotes videos that people engage with. So whenever you comment in the comments section, that helps this video. Whenever you like the thing, whenever you subscribe from watching a video, it helps that video, it helps that channel. If you share on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever, if you share these videos, then that registers with the YouTube algorithm that, hey, this is a good video. People are sharing this video. So there's something about what I'm doing in the series that is not connecting and not resonating enough with writers for them to actually go out and share. Now, if you've been watching the series from the beginning, I'm repeating myself, but very many people have not watched this thing from the beginning. So to reiterate, the whole idea of this series was to give writers a daily action prompt born out of my experience as I'm going about trying to build an indie film studio from the ground up. The idea being here in this setting, this backdrop here, was really only for a limited time. The idea was only for 2 or 3 months as I sort of I present to you the ideas, the vision, the plan, the how I'm going to go about building this thing, which I've done throughout this series. And then hopefully through that, get you excited enough to go share and spread the news and say, hey, have you seen this? What do you think about this? Get more people to watch it, get those numbers up, get more people excited about it, get some volunteers in to try to help me then take it outside of this room and out into the behind the scenes making of the film's realm. There are a couple problems. One of the problems is obviously we haven't attracted any volunteers along the way. We have attracted some volunteers, haven't been able to figure out how to help because haven't quite attracted the volunteers that we had originally wanted to attract. That's a big problem. So the only way that I'm going to get those people, I have come to discover what I've learned, is through paying them, through building that mechanism myself. Okay, so that's problem number one. Problem number two is the only way we're going to make all these films output is by people joining Fast Screenplay, going through this process and developing those skills, being able to churn out consistently this content. Now, about a month ago, I had to do probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do, something that genuinely broke my heart. I came to realize that this test trial writers room group that I have assembled, about half of the group kind of really didn't yet have the skills that we needed to develop the projects that we're trying to develop. One of the problems that I've had along the way, as you know if you've watched earlier videos, is that I built Fast Screenplay because I couldn't find viable material to produce. Lots of people have great ideas. Lots of people even have sometimes good screenplays, but they don't have something that we can actually go, yes, let's make that. So I built a process for taking writers through that journey. So it's not teaching screenwriting in the way a class would of here's the 3-act structure story and here's how to build characters, here's how to build dialogue. We do all that stuff. We do it by guiding writers through the process. So before you even have the idea, what do we need to do to make sure those ideas are solid? And then how do we turn those ideas into viable stories? How do we get them on the page? How do we refine them? How do we get notes and feedback? And then how do we then connect with the producer? So I built a process-based approach, thinking at the time that if I can build a system, offer it at cost, I don't make a cent out of it, but when writers go through that process, then we'll, in theory, have some percentage of the people who finish that process will want to write stuff that we can then go out and produce. Those are the people that I wanted to give I wanted to give writers an additional incentive because a lot of writers would quit along the way. Despite the fact that I say it doesn't matter if what you're writing is terrible, I'm going to show you how to improve it as we go along. People would still, the self-doubt creeps in, even though we addressed that at the very beginning. People don't follow through. And so I wanted to give the writers an incentive to follow through. And that incentive was this writer's room. Now, the problem is only one of the initial group of writers in the writer's room had actually completed the process. And so only one of the writers in that group had actually all the sort of skills and understanding and big picture. They snapped all the pieces together and were able to see sort of how to go about doing that. That person still had not sort of gone through the system multiple times with that new knowledge to refine and master that skill, but they at least understood that. The problem is I wanted to build this writer's room, so we need to get the train rolling somehow. So I pulled some people in who were very enthusiastic and very excited about the process and wanted to be a part of it all. To do this trial test run, a big experiment, really. How are we going to make this work? It's a big unknown. I don't know how to make this work. We're going to iron out the kinks as we go along. Problem is, we've been now struggling with this and working on this and trying to refine this for over a year with this trial writers room group. And it sort of I came to firmly believe that we had people in the group who didn't have the skills yet. Doesn't mean they won't. Doesn't mean they can't. Doesn't mean I don't want them in the group. Just means they're not quite ready for what we're trying to build. Here's the big problem with screenwriting. Here's the big problem with trying to create at a professional level. The big problem, the big challenge is that it doesn't matter if you've done a class or a course. It doesn't matter if you've ticked all the boxes saying I did that thing. It doesn't matter if you have a degree or a doctorate in screenwriting. All that matters is can you do it? All that matters is what are you able to create in that moment? What are you able to do actually? What skills do you have at the ready to be able to implement in the real world situation? And so what I ended up deciding to do was to basically take that initial trial writers room group and cut it in half. And I told half of the group that I would love to have you be in the second group. I need you to develop these skills a bit more and sort of go through that process again and really, really, really learn and refine those skills. Really do this stuff. Really snap these pieces together so that you're ready for the second group when the second group is ready. The other half, we're going to keep moving forward. We're the story that we've come up with for our first film. I am so excited about it. I can't wait to tell you guys about it. I don't want to reveal too much ahead of time. That's another thing that I've learned through doing this series, but I'll get to that in a minute. But the heartbreak of having to let go a group of people who are enthusiastic and passionate about what you're trying to build, because the skills aren't quite there yet, it's the worst thing I've ever had to do. And I did that a month ago, and I have yet to hear from any of them again. And it's just heartbreaking to me. But it is what it is, and This is what I was trying to convey to writers. It doesn't matter what you say you know. It doesn't matter what you think you know. It matters if you're able to deliver. If you forget about fast screenplay, forget about me. Just you writing your script and you trying to connect with a producer. If you write something that a producer looks at it and goes, I can't do anything with this. If you don't have the skills to be able to work with that producer, if you don't have a way of aligning with that producer, it can't happen. They can like you, they can like your idea, they can like your writing, they can like your script, but if those skills aren't there, it's just not there. It's nothing personal. It's nothing. It may even be heartbreaking for them. They may want to work with you, but sort of can't. And so there's a twofold problem that I face. If you've been watching the series from the beginning, you know that my goal is to build an independent film studio, but not just build an independent film studio. My goal is to build an independent film studio from the ground up with nothing. So to make our first film with as close to $0 as we can possibly get it, intentionally, deliberately, so that all the proceeds that come in from that get poured into the next project. And then we make a bigger project. In theory, a better project. In theory, we grow and we start to scale. And as we start making those films, people go, oh, wow, this indie film studio thing is real. And they jump on board and they want to be a part of it. Well, it's not just about submitting your work. It's about learning the skills that, frankly, there is no other way to develop some of the skills that I built into Fast Screenplay than to go through this process. There is. You can spend 10 years struggling at it on your own, or that's what I built. I didn't build the screenwriting course. I didn't create something to help you learn the 3-act structure, story, how to build better characters and write better dialogue. All that stuff is in there because it's part of the process, but I built the process. I built the framework. You can take Sid Field or Robert McKee or whoever your favorite guru is and drop it into the system to make your system flow better, to make their teachings amplified. It's something that's different to what else exists because it's a process-based approach. The reason I did that, I make no money from it. It's not about the money. My goal was to do this at cost so that when we have the writers and we make the movies, the profit it comes out of the movies. And in that way, I profit at the same time writers profit. That was always the goal, that we work together. We get there together. If trying to tell you about this through this series doesn't generate the excitement and the enthusiasm to spread the word and to attract the volunteers, what do I have to do? I have to find a way to pay for all that. I have to find a way to hire people to build the other stuff. If writers don't go through this process and develop those skills, then we can't make these films as we go. Right now we have 4 writers and me in the writer's room, in this first trial test writer's room group. We have probably 4 or 5 projects that we're going to create out of this. We're focusing on the first one first, which I had hoped to be shooting now. The problem is that all these things have come up and all the problems and challenges have come up. So we're probably not going to be shooting until September, October. I don't know when we're going to be shooting because it's at this point, the plan, the strategy has changed a little because this didn't quite work out the way that I wanted it to. So bringing it back to it, what have I learned? What I have learned is that I don't think writers want to be involved in the building of something new. I think they want to jump on board something that already exists. And I think in many ways, that is what's going to prevent you from achieving the success that you're aiming for. There's a movie called Jerry Maguire from the 90s, starring Tom Cruise and Cuba Gooding Jr. And there's a scene where Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character is a football star, and he's sort of behaving badly and doing things that are undermining what Tom Cruise, Jerry Maguire, the agent character, has been trying to do for him. And so Tom Cruise has this scene with Cuba, and he basically says, "Help me help you." Help me help you. And it's great. It's a fantastic little scene. And that's how I feel a little bit. I feel like I'm begging for the writers watching this series to help me help them. Help me build this thing that's going to help you. And what I've learned along the way is that I don't think that's what writers want to do. I don't think writers want to help me help them. I think they want it to exist. And I don't necessarily blame you for it, because you really want to invest time and energy or whatever into something that you're not sure is going to actually happen, that doesn't exist yet. So what if it doesn't exist? Now, forget about fast screenplay. Forget about me for a second. This is the secret to success. This is how you're going to get there, particularly if you're not connected in Hollywood already. You might not be able to knock on the door of CAA or William Morris and say, "Hey, read my script." They're going to say no. They're just going to say no. It's not going to happen. But you can connect with a local filmmaker who's already made a film. Maybe they made this B-grade little low-budget thing that's terrible. Everybody got panned everywhere. Why not reach out to that person and say, "Hey, I saw you made this thing. I have a script." And maybe it's a great script. Maybe it's something much, much better than what their level of work was. But they've obviously put in the blood, sweat, and tears to build something previously. Now, if they see something great and they see that you want to be a part of working with them, it's entirely possible you can knock on that door and get in. How do you connect with those people? You connect with them through your local film communities. You connect with them through film festivals. You connect with them through looking them up on the internet and seeing who in your area made what and connecting with them. This is essentially, effectively, what I'm asking writers to do here. I'm saying, I want to build this thing. I literally want to build an independent film studio that releases 50 films, a film a week. That's my goal. That's my vision. I have a distribution strategy in mind. I have a production mechanism in mind. I built the screenplay development system, the fast screenplay that can create this output consistently on an ongoing basis, to have writers with the skills to be able to work on the fly to the real world production scenarios that come up as a result of it. That's what I'm trying to build here. Telling you about it with this backdrop, boring, whatever, it's not connecting. It's not resonating for some reason. If I was already doing it, if we had 2 films, 3 films already out there, and we were doing a daily behind the scenes show, then you would be watching this going, "Hey, that's real. Hey, let me get involved with that." But here's the thing. Once that happens, you've missed the early days. You're past the point at which you can have an outsized contribution to it, which is why I'm perplexed, but I understand. I'm frustrated, but I get it, of why this hasn't really worked out. So what I've decided to do is the daily prompt itself, I've decided to discontinue. I've realized that the daily prompt, the idea behind the daily prompt, giving you a daily action prompt, it doesn't make sense to do that here on YouTube, because that's what fast screenplay is. That's what it's designed to be. But that's full immersion. You're going to develop a new skill each day as you get a daily prompt. I can't really do that on a YouTube series, in part because YouTube, you can jump to these episodes out of order. You can just focus on the information. So many people are going to watch these videos or anything that I put on YouTube because they're searching for information. They're looking for that secret idea. Developing your craft as a screenwriter is not about information. It's not about filling your brain with more information, more ideas. It's about developing skills. It's about developing your craft. It's about being thrown a challenge and being able to instantly and immediately come up with a beautifully woven story idea with details or big picture level stuff that's going to radically serve the needs of the production, as well as your creative needs, as well as story effectiveness, all that stuff. As I record this, the Game of Thrones finale just was aired a couple of weeks ago, and even something on that scale, even something that epic, I would argue that the story elements are fine, the twists and turns are all fine, but the pacing was all off, and so a lot of things were paid off in a way they were not effectively set up that didn't have any payoff, and all of the things that I talk about on this channel. If you're working at that level and you can still see how challenging it is to nail these nuances. New writers come in thinking they're going to just blast out a script and achieve that. It's not about information. It's not about how to do the thing. Those filmmakers, those writers, they know all this stuff intellectually. They know how the pieces work. They know how to play the stuff out. And still the nuance of it didn't work out properly. Didn't work out to its best effect. It's not about information. It's about experience. And so what I'm trying to build through everything that I'm trying to do is to take writers through the experience of developing production-ready screenplays, and then to take them through the experience of actually seeing their screenplay turned into a movie, and then whatever the results are of that movie, and then to be able to take all that knowledge and insight and information and put it right back into the process so the next project is that much better and that much better and that much better. I can't do that on a YouTube series because that's not why you're here on YouTube. You're here on YouTube for information. You're not here on YouTube for experience. Otherwise, you'd be doing the experience. So what I've decided to do is to discontinue the Daily Prompt series. I want to create a new series where I teach stuff. There's literally an encyclopedia's worth of screenwriting knowledge and help and expertise that I can give you that's in this brain right now. I want to keep giving you that stuff, and so I want to create a new series that presents information. I'm never going to be able to give you the experience here, and so I don't want to create a series that purports to be able to give that to you, which is what I had set out to do with this, which is why I think this hasn't quite succeeded, because it was set up wrong, right? So what I'm going to be doing is I may do another one or two of these episodes just because I have a couple more things to say, and the top and tail and the music and all that stuff is already ready for this. So it'll be quicker than creating a new format. But the series is going to end. But please stay subscribed to this channel. Please click the little bell to see what new things come along. At some point, once we have the resources, and it may be after we make our first film, maybe after we make our third film, at some point, we're going to return to a daily series. The daily series is not going to be about teaching you screenwriting stuff. The daily series is going to be showing you the behind-the-scenes production stuff and looking at screenwriting through that lens to help give you a bigger picture of it. But I can't promise when that's going to be because I don't know, because these goalposts change when reality sets in. I said early on, when you set that goal for yourself, you have to understand that it's about achieving that. It's not about getting there this way. It's about trying this way, and if this way doesn't quite work, then sidestepping or moving around whatever obstacles come up. That's partly why Fast Screenplay makes success inevitable for you, because as you go through it, when you hit an inevitable roadblock, the system shows you what to do at that point, how to get around it, another approach to take. And that's what a process-based approach to screenwriting is all about. So I'm going to continue doing that. I'm going to continue trying to build this. I'm super excited about this movie that we're putting together, the first one, which I'm now just focusing on this first one. We're not going to worry too much about the next 2 or 3 after that. We're just going to get this first one done first. Because if you don't want to jump on board and help me help you, then at least I want to make sure that we do establish that foundation and framework that you can then at some point look at and go, oh, I see what he's building now. Now I want to get involved, or not. It's up to you. But we're going to get there one way or the other. I've said before, I will say again, I'm going to build an independent film studio that produces multiple films a year, or I'm going to die trying. And there's no two ways about it. So I thank you for watching this after a 1 month absence. Thank you for understanding the twists and turns that we have to go through to get where we're trying to go. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments below. If you have anything to say about it, pop them in the comments to go. Engagement helps us. So if you liked what I had to say here today, share this perhaps, or share other videos on this channel, or share other videos in this series. I have mapped out a path for success for you, not only in other videos in this series, but in this video right here. I've showed you exactly how to achieve the results that you have in mind for yourself. Have you heard it? Did you see it? Did you hear it? Did you take it on board? Are you ready to actually do something with it? That's what this series was intended to be all about. So please take this, personalize it, focus on your own journey. Think about how I might be able to help you synergistically with your journey. Think about how other filmmakers out there might be able to help you with your journey. Think about how you're going to get to your target. And whatever your target is, do not stop until you get there. Stop. Take a moment, look at why your current actions are maybe not getting you there, but then adjust, adapt, modify, sidestep, and create a new strategy and a new plan. That's what I'm going to do. Thanks so much for watching this video. We'll see you in the next one.